The challenge around scoping the work is it's complex. Accounting businesses are complex. Accounting services are complex. We have different levels of service that we can provide to our clients. Businesses are complex. There's so many factors that they bring to the party as well. What their revenue is, how many staff they've got, how many transactions they have. So just in that first part, there's so much complexity of two things meeting each other. The next thing is there's no recalibration, or very often not enough recalibration. So if something starts out wrong, it will just get worse. It continues to grow over time. And just to scope out the work takes time. To actually agree everything we're going to do for the client at the right level is actually a time-consuming process, not just because we've got to go through all the services and the service levels, but also there's a regulation aspect as well, which is the fact that you've got to get your letter of engagement in place. You've got to really concisely agree with the client everything that you're going to do. And if that thing takes an hour to do, to put all that together, where are you going to find an hour in the week? You don't just have an hour just to find, so it's going to take you days or even a week just to find that 1 hour to do that. And so we actually, because it takes time, we actually put off doing it. We delay getting round to scoping, which is why it gets worse over time. And here's the other real issue that we face as an industry. Accounting services are intangible. I don't get to feel anything. I don't get anything. If I go and buy a car today, I get to sit in it, I get to smell the leather seats, I get to feel the steering wheel, I get to put my foot down and accelerate and move things forward. I get to feel this physical thing. But if someone is coming and signing up for your services, over the next 10 years, if they're paying the correct fee, it's the equivalent of a car. They're paying the same amount as they would be for a car, but they don't get anything physical. What you do is just a magical, mythical service. I give you some information and magically my staff get paid, or a tax return gets filed, or my debtor days get reduced or whatever, but I don't get to hold or feel anything. And so what we must become experts at is communicating the value of what we provide to our clients by providing great proposals and the way that we position ourselves. But it's actually very difficult for what is fundamentally an intangible service.